G'day everyone, today we are looking at another Ryobi tool, and it's my favorite kind of tool. Well, one of my favorite kind of tools. Who doesn't love a nail gun? And even better, who doesn't love a free nail gun? That's right, Ryobi said to me one day, "Hey, Tools, would you like a free framing nailer?" And what am I going to say to that? Who doesn't want a free nail gun? And I've been interested to put this up against my other nail guns to see just how it copes ever since I first heard it advertised. Now, in the background there will be something going on. I'm also using the background to, well, print something with a 3D printer. Yes, so it might get a bit loud and a bit annoying. Otherwise, I just thought it'd be cool to have something being built in the background. I've got to just remember not to keep knocking the thing because it'll stuff things up. I'll let you know a bit more about that in a moment. I've also got another little toy here that I've just stuck on my phone so I can see how hot this actual thing is getting. Sorry, we'll get back to the nailer in a moment. But it's cool all the tech you can do with your phone these days. So this is a little camera that you plug in the bottom of your phone, and you can change it to look like all sorts of different colors depending on what suits you the best. I tend to like that one because everything's black and white sort of if it's coldish, and it goes yellow to red if it's hot, which makes sense to me. So yeah, I can see just how hot the filament coming out of this thing is and how hot the bed is and stuff. So the coolest part of this shot right now is the back wall at about 17.5 degrees. The filament head here, we're looking at like 140-ish, and we're looking at about 53 degrees for the base. It's meant to be heated to 60, so whereabouts that 60 measurements taken from, I don't know. So yeah, if you're interested in that, I'll put a little link down in the description. It's called what's it called? An InfiRay. So yeah, that's quite cool. I'll be using that from time to time throughout this video potentially. Anyway, back to the nail gun. Oh, and if you're interested in that, because it is pretty cool and it is quick, but I think I might speed it up. Let's just whack the speed up a bit here. There we go. It's pretty fast for a 3D printer. Not that I've had a lot of experience with 3D printers, but they tell me it's fast. And I printed this the other day and it took 39 minutes, which I thought was pretty good, because everybody said, 3D printers, you got to leave them running overnight, blah blah. But yeah, I thought 39 minutes for that, and I had it running on just the standard setting. I could have ramped it up, probably pumped it out in about 25 minutes. Back to the nail gun. That's why you're here, right? First impressions of this thing, it's pretty heavy. But if you've ever used any cordless nailer, you'll know they're all pretty heavy. This one clocking in at 4.5 kgs without a battery. I haven't done a lot with it yet, but I plan to build a fence with it in a few days, weather permitting, but it's not looking too flash at the moment, unfortunately. I've used it a little bit and I've done some tests and I've done some deck framing with it, but I haven't really done a lot of filming with it yet. But I'll just tell you some of the features and then hopefully I'll go build something. First up, build quality wise, pretty good for a Ryobi, I mean, it feels really tough and solid. It's got a lot more over molding than you'd normally see on a framing nailer. I can't recall all my other ones having so much of this sort of TPE over molding. This is maybe because this is more of a DIY tool rather than a construction sort of tool. Not too many guys building houses and shit are gonna pick the Ryobi nailer. This is more for DIY guys that want to build their fence at home, build a deck, build a shed, build a pergola, whatever, that sort of stuff. Aren't going to thrash it, aren't going to use it every day. And because you're not using it every day, that weight, although heavy, if you're not using it for long periods of time, it's not that bad. But it looks and feels at first glance very good for a Ryobi tool, or Ryobi if you're so inclined. This is all metal. Look at this, man. It's nicer than the Milwaukee and the Hikoki, which I'm pretty sure they're plastic. So this not only looks nicer, it feels nicer, it screams quality more than those brands do, which is bizarre, you know, in the way that the hierarchy of these tools, that shouldn't be. But hey, maybe this isn't as strong as the plastic. But I was playing with my Hikoki one just before the other day, and I was flexing the plastic, and it was quite easy to move compared to this, which is not. I prefer this. If you whack it and you ding it, you might end up harder to move things than the plastic. I don't know. Is it cheaper to make it out of the metal than the plastic? I wouldn't have thought so. Now this is a 34-degree nailer. In the States you might get a 20, 21, 22, something in that region rather than a 34. 34s are the most common in this country, but in other parts of the world the shallower angle is more common. And that angle refers to the angle of your nails. So there's the 34 degree there. So if you're 22 degrees or 20 degrees, there would be less of an angle there, it would be straighter. Pros and cons to both ways. The 20 degree ones tend to have longer magazines usually, so you can fit more nails in. 34 degree ones you can get in on slightly tighter angles. Now this nailer will take 51mm to 90mm, 2 inches to 3.5 inches. Front nose area looks pretty good. They've gone with a fairly round tip here. It does also come with a no-mar tip that you stick over the front, sort of spring-loaded bit of plastic there. That's to stop these teeth damaging your timber depending on what job you are doing, because framing nailers make a bit of a mess because they're designed to be fired in places that aren't usually seen, like inside walls, under decks, that sort of stuff. But we're all metal construction here. It's got a plastic dial for your depth gauge. Pretty basic standard stuff like most nailers. It is a brushless HP Ryobi tool, so this is, you know, the top Ryobi tools. It's got something here that I haven't seen on any of the other nailers I've got, and that's a very large shock absorber built into the, it's even got shock absorber written on it, built into the battery mount there. Moves quite a lot. We've got a belt hook. We've also got a rafter hook. Rafter hook's plastic, the belt hook is metal. I haven't looked into topping it up, but it looks like you can top up the cylinder yourself if it goes a bit flat. Whack a tire inflator on there, pump it up to probably around 125 psi, I am guessing. I have not looked that up yet, I'm afraid. But if it's anything like the AEG, pump it up and you should be back to full depth shooting again. In the background here, there's a bug flying around my face. In the background, I've got this bug zapper as well, also from Ryobi. And that thing there, very cool for zapping mosquitoes and sandflies and tiny little annoying bugs. So if you hear anything go flash a light, that's what it was. How's our printing going in the background here? Oh, we got 4 little plinths. It's going to be a while. Now, my favorite part of using this nailer is the trigger feature, because if you use certain brands, I won't name and shame, but you know which ones they are, you turn them on here or you turn them on down here, and then they might time out. You go to pull the trigger and you've got it up against, and it's not working because the thing's turned itself off. You don't have that problem with this nailer because there is no on button, nothing to turn it on and off. So how does that work? It's just here. There is a tiny little trigger just behind the main trigger. So when you pick it up, your finger automatically pushes against that, and that activates the tool. Then you can depress the tip, pull the trigger, and fire your nail. Very, very cool. Pretty similar to the AEG one, and it's my favorite way of doing it. I much prefer it over other tool brands nailers because it's just so easy. You don't have to think about it. And if you're not using it constantly, if you're just doing a nail every now and again, you're working by yourself, you're lining things up, you don't want the tool turning off on you all the time. You just want to be able to pick it up, bang bang, fire a couple of nails, move something else, adjust something, bang bang, another couple of nails, go cut another bit of wood, etc., come back, bang bang. So easy not having to have that damn button timing out on you. I know it seems like a small thing, but it's hugely good, and I wish all nailers did this. Now in this part of the world, this is not bump fire. Okay, so it's full sequential mode. You have to push that down, pull the trigger, every time. Push it down, pull the trigger. Push it down, pull the trigger. You can't just go hold the trigger down, bang, 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 bang. But if you're in the States, full sequential and contact mode, so bump fire, so normal and rapid, lots of different names for these things, makes things confusing. There'll be a switch just here, I do believe, so you can flick it between the two different modes. The model number for this one in this part of the world, the RFN, Ryobi Framing Nailer, 1830X. In the States, if you want the 30-degree one with the bump fire, it is PBL350B. I'll put links to these down in the description for different countries, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, wherever I can find. So there'll be slightly different models, slightly different angles on the nails, and may or may not have the bump fire. But take a look at the links down there, see what suits you. I noticed there's a 30-degree US one, and this one says 30 to 34 degrees when you're buying the nails. Don't panic. I mean, a lot of the nails, they'll say 33 degrees, and if your gun says 34, don't worry, it'll still work. They'll still go through fine. A few degrees doesn't matter. So anywhere between 30 and 34, all the same nails. You don't have to buy different nails for every different degree. But you do have to buy different ones if you're going 30 down to 21, for instance. 21 degrees, that's too much of a difference. Change the nail. How are things progressing in the background? Oh, it's coming along. Can anyone work out what it is? Probably pretty easy already to work it out, eh? Right, you're probably sick to death of me talking already. I'll go use this thing for a bit. So this is a shitty old fence, and this is the posts and railings I'm putting up for the new fence. And there's the first couple of palings on there now, and I'll show you what I'm putting them on with. I'm using these pass load 65mm annular grooved full round head, if it focuses, nails, and they're galvanized obviously, and of course we are using the Ryobi Framing Nailer, so I better take those framing nails out of it that I've been using to put up the rails, and let's go paling. Now it's all going good so far, but I feel it's leaving a few too many marks from the tip here, so I'm just going to go grab the no-mar tip, whack that on, give it a crack with that. Make sure you take the battery off when you're doing such a task, and with that on, make sure you increase the depth so that your nails go all the way in, because this adds a couple of millimeters. Now you may also notice that I'm angling the tool. If you angle the nails inward or outward just by a few degrees, it gives you a lot more hold with your nail. If you go straight in with them all, then the whole paling can just pop off. But if one's going that way, one's going that way, then it can't pull off very easily. Can't pull straight out because it's pulling against the timber too much. Whereas straight in, straight out. Every now and again, remember to just whack the level on, make sure you're going straight, and she is all good. Time to change the nails. Well, that was quick. I need to knock down some more fence and put in some more railings before I can carry on using the gun. Gonna have to leave that there for today because I've run out of palings. I'm gonna be a few short, so I'm gonna stop where I am now, and then I'll have to finish this off once I've grabbed some more palings and painted them. Just a bit of a bugger. So how did the nailer go? Well, she's done the job. There is a few that didn't go in too well, but I was putting them on angles and stuff, so it's a bit hard to know whether I was putting them on a bit of a bung angle and the timber was a bit different and yada yada yada. It did the job, and it's still on full charge on the battery, all 4 bars showing on a 6 amp hour battery. So how many palings, how many nails have I shot here? So I've just counted, I've done 38 palings so far, 6 nails per paling. What is that, 220 something? So not a huge amount of nails yet, but hasn't gone down a bar, so the battery should do over 1,000 I would say. Okay, let's now look at penetration. I have some pass load framing nails in here. This is the biggest nails you can get for this gun, so let's see how well she goes. That's also a good test to show you just how quick you can fire with this thing. It's pretty good. It's not the quickest framing nailer around, but for most people using this gun, I think that'd be plenty quick enough. And looking at the penetration, you can see that it is well in there. I mean, we are up to 5 millimeters down, I reckon, on that one. Certainly a good 3 millimeters on most of them. So plenty of depth penetration. We are going into a stack of dry, it's been kicking around for a while, this chunk of wood. So this is dry treated pine. Now I'm just going to do a few angle shots and see how good the penetration is on an angle like this. We've got a red light come on. Can you see the red light? Why has the red light come on? Back to green now. Must have gotten a bit carried away. So into this timber on those angles, as you can see, the penetration not too bad. Pretty good actually. But what about going through some LVL? Now most people using this Ryobi Framing Nailer are probably not going to be using LVLs if we're honest. But in case you are, let's take a look at that. Although I don't actually have any LVL offcuts kicking around, and it's quite expensive to buy just to chop up and fire nails into for tests on YouTube, so I think I'll make my own LVLs. They haven't released the Ryobi plunge saw in this part of the world yet, so if you're keen on one of those, get on and harass Bunnings, harass Ryobi New Zealand, Ryobi Australia, and yeah, get on to them, tell them you want it. You need a lot of people to make these things happen. If Ryobi are a bit dubious about doing it, they hear a few voices, they might listen. So what is an LVL and what makes it different firing a nail through an LVL compared to standard solid timber? Well, if you know what plywood is, you know what a sheet of plywood is, think of an LVL as a sheet of plywood that's thicker and narrower, basically just used for beams and structural members. And so that's what I've made here with my ply offcuts, rather than go out and waste money on a new LVL just to destroy it. LVL stands for laminated veneer lumber. What they do, they peel off veneers of pine in this case, and they then layer them on top of each other, often in 90-degree orientations to get the grain going in different directions to make them stronger, combined with glue, but also with other things such as fibers. Here you can see this fiber that is within the ply. See, it breaks, but you can't actually pull it apart because there is strings and fibers inside. Lots of different things like that make the nails much harder to go through. When the substrate is changing density over and over again, the poor old nail doesn't know what to do, so it's going through a piece of ply going that way, a piece of ply going that way, string, glue, all sorts. Much harder than just going into one piece of timber, which is less likely to have so many differences in density. So I've got my homemade LVL in the back there. Some people will probably get their knickers in a twist that I didn't use a proper one. But anywho, trying to save the planet here, people. It's nearly 100 millimeters thick, so we've got plenty of room there to fire nails into. So I'll fire them full depth with the Ryobi here, 90 mil nails. Well, you can't complain at that. Holy moly. They are well and truly in there. Not much difference at all. In fact, pretty much identical to just firing it into standard lumber. Lumber. I never use the word lumber. Timber. What bloody country is it? That's pretty darn good. There's a lot of nail guns, believe it or not, that aren't too good through the old LVL. So LVL into LVL for a framing nailer. I got no problem with that. No mar tip. soon as you start going on angles with the Nomad tip, you do get a bit too far away from the timber and you will get a few raised heads. Nothing to worry about, and when you're using the Nomad tip, you're a little less likely to be going on an angle anyway. It's usually for wanting to do nice flush shots. How about I stick a fresh clip of nails in this and we just see how many we can fire before it shits out, or whether it runs a whole strip through without overloading in any way. Full clip, speed test, into LVL, let's go. Got a red overload light. Back to green. And we are done, full clip. So it did about 30 odd nails, I think, before it did that red overload. And if we take a look closely, we'll see they're all fairly consistent. There's nothing standing out as being, you know, there's that one there and that one there maybe aren't in quite as deep, but they're all well below the surface. I'm actually really impressed by that. I'm going to have to get some other nailers now and test it against this Ryobi just to see how good this Ryobi really is. Whether this is a tough task or whether this Ryobi is absolutely smashing it. So let's see how the Ryobi goes when we put it up against some of the other brands of battery nailers.
We haven't got enough time.
Sorry, what?
We've run out of time.
Sorry, but it appears we have run out of time for this particular episode, so I'll just give you a quick summary of the Ryobi and then we'll put it up against some of these other nailers in the next video. If you are a DIYer and you want to build a deck, you want to build a fence, you want to build a shed, that sort of stuff around your house, and you don't have a nail gun, you've never used a nail gun, this is a great nail gun to start on. It is a bit chunky, a bit heavy. If you were using it all day as a professional building houses, might be a little bit on the chunky heavy side and maybe not quite as good on getting the nails in on angles, but we'll have to wait until the next video for that one really to know if that is the case. Also, that little red light coming on, had it do it to me a few times in awkward positions when I was down low doing a deck the other day, and it was annoying. If you're a DIYer, probably not too big of an issue, but if you were using it professionally, it is probably going to get on your nerves a bit. I'm not 100% sure why it does it. According to the legend here for the lights, it is because it has low battery or needs maintenance. Well, it doesn't seem to be either of those things. Every now and again, it just wants a fucking 5-second rest, and so it just turns on the little red light, have a little bit of a break, and then it goes back to green. And I totally understand, you know, I feel like that a lot of the time at the moment. I haven't had it jam, so I haven't seen the red light flash yet. It's good that you can fill it back up with air yourself. It's great that you don't need to turn the thing on every time you pick it up. I love that. I like the magazine, all this area. It all seems nice. It's a good tool. I like it. I'm not a fan of this little bit here. There's a little ridge before the little secondary switch there to make you put your finger where they want you to put it. And it's not too bad, but it just sort of rubs a little bit on that finger, depending on how big your hand is, but yeah, to me it doesn't need to be there. It's not on the AEG one, but we'll get into that in the next video. So thanks for watching, guys. It is a good nailer. Ryobi are really stepping up their game recently with their tools, and it's a pity some other brands haven't managed to put out a decent framing nailer yet, but it looks like Ryobi have. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on a comparison with these other ones very soon.